Good afternoon, friends and traders. I am Dan Hodgman, and welcome to the market recap. It is Thursday, June 3rd. This is my first time seeing you guys this week. I do apologize. Tuesday was one of those days that threw me all out of whack. I was at the office back in the city. I was getting everything ready, set up to do some live streaming from the office again. And next thing you know, it was 3:45, and I totally lost track of time. So 100% on me. I apologize about that one. But yesterday, hope you guys were able to make it to the Top Step Trading Hour. Really had a great time sitting down with some great traders from all over the place, including trading coach Jared Tendler. So we had a great time sitting down. Covered just a few questions. I felt awful. We had a ton more come in, but the conversation went really nicely. So I recommend checking it out. I think you can still email into TopStep to get a copy of it if you missed it already. Spent a lot of time talking about that idea of patience and slowing everything down and waiting for those opportunities. We had a lot discussed around there. And Jared, if you guys have listened to our podcast, you heard him on there. He's got a great book out that just came out, The Mental Game of Trading, I believe is the name of it. And I apologize if I'm incorrect on that. Listen to the podcast. He really kind of goes in deep on a lot of this stuff. Some great opportunities and some really cool conversation was had yesterday. So if you didn't get to hear it or didn't get to join us yesterday, you should be able to still email in and get a copy of that. Support at topstep.com. Let them know. Really had a good time. Now today, I'm taking it easy this last week. Summer kind of showed up pretty abruptly. We're 85 and sunny here. And typically for me, that's a psychological difficulty to overcome that barrier, right? So I typically I slow down. I'm not going to sit here and say I take time off because I'm still here. I'm still trading. I'm still watching these markets. But I really slow down a lot of what I'm doing when it is as gorgeous out as it is right now. And if that's because it creates a distraction for me. I can sit here and birds chirping. My neighborhood, everyone rides around on golf carts. So, golf carts cruising, kids laughing, lawn getting cut. It can be a kind of a little bit of a distraction. So we want to avoid that sometimes. So I slow down. And that's really been how this week was for me up until today, right? Today we woke up this morning and I get the notification. Jobless claims are doing well. Good number, better than expected. All the eco numbers are coming out pretty positive. And I'm looking at the markets and going, markets aren't showing that positive just yet. We had a big sell-off last night in the equity markets. Middle of the night, markets started to sell off, but eventually, and this is why it really makes sense to stay out of economic releases if you're trading outrights. It's just not really safe because fundamentally, everything sat there and told us this is a great time to be long. Well, the long didn't come until after the market opened, and the market opened up, and the first initial move it went and made a new low. When you look at S&Ps, you look at the NASDAQ, went and made a new low. Now, what do we say off an open? If the market gets directional right off the open, we're making a new low, chances are we might see that market continue in that direction throughout the rest of the day. Not the case here today because we had finally the bigger dogs came in and said, no. We've got good numbers. That could possibly lead to great numbers tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow unemployment report will be coming out. Non-farm payroll, unemployment number. So a lot going on tomorrow. So finally, 9 o'clock, these equity markets started to turn around. S&Ps did not make it up to settlement price. Neither did the NASDAQ. But the Dow, where'd my Dow chart go? I tell you, some days I don't have enough. Some days I really just don't have enough screen space. But Dow did make it back to settlement price. Dow's been kind of floating settles throughout most of today. So that was the big mover running up there. I know it's not a market we tend to look at. But I definitely still think Dow a lot of times is that benchmark. And so Dow was the benchmark today, got back up to settlement price. Crude oil, on the other hand, floated near that overnight low. When I say overnight low, that consolidation low. I don't mean the overnight low that was down right about 68.50. I'm looking more around yesterday's swing high at that $69 mark up to about $69.10, where we had some of that consolidation from the overnight and yesterday's regular trading hour swing high, $69. and it bounced off a settlement price, which wasn't a lot. Settlement price was down at 68.83, so you got a 17 cents there, and really finally didn't make a move until about 10 o'clock this morning, and that market started to sell off pretty solid right to yesterday's point of control area, and bounced and returned right back to settlement price. So tougher trade there. Then we look over at gold. Gold in the overnight told us sell. Well, it opened up 7 o'clock this morning, 7:20 this morning. The selling continued, and that thing accelerated pretty fast until this equities started to stabilize a little bit, right? We stabilized in the equities. Dollar had a nice little update today, and you got gold coming off just a little bit, but the euro, big sell-off in the euro. I mean, you look at the charts of the euro, gold, and treasuries. Whoops, not that treasury. That's not the treasury there I'm looking at. There we go. The treasuries all had pretty hefty sells today. So trend trading, if a trend trading is a market you're comfortable in, today was a day for you. But being able to recognize when those trends are over. And you know what? I think a lot of these markets were pretty decent today at letting us know trend or the directional move has ended and didn't force us or put us in a bad way if we were trying to hold on to it. And so those are things you do want to pay attention to, right? If you get into that trend and you are looking for it, just you let the winners run, right? That's what we always say, let the winners run. If we're sitting there letting the winners run, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's trying to find the points where we recognize that the move is over. And the more time you get into this, the more you recognize it. But today really a lot of these markets took their time showing us trend was over, except that you took the move. Don't try and pick up a couple extra ticks just for, ego. Get out of the trade and move on. So yields kind of all over the place today. Really, truthfully, we're looking at a relatively flat day on the yields. Not a huge change there. VIX, obviously, as expected, there was a pop this morning, but the thing calmed down. We were floating, 17.5 up to 18. Right now, my computer's freezing up on me. Go figure. Totally frozen. Doesn't want to click through any of my stuff that I got up here. All right. Well, let's go ahead, get over here to these charts. Let's take a look at what's going on in the charts today, and we'll go from there. All right. As always, we're going to start with crude oil here. So like we said, crude oil opened up near yesterday's regular trading hour swing high and towards the consolidation low in the overnight session, right? That's kind of what I was looking at. Those are areas that I like to try and just pay attention to. These are visual spots. I like this. Okay, so I've got 69. That's $69, pointing out pretty nicely here, 69.01. What do I got from the overnight session? Okay, so if I get into this 69.10 up to about 69.20, if we get inside that and we start to hold up above it, okay, that's going to be, if we can start to hold up above this might tell us that the market's going to go higher. But if it doesn't get through there, I am going to look to see if this market will rotate down towards settlement price. Remember what we said, settlement price 68.83. Well, where am I looking from there? That's not a big enough target. If I'm going to get in at $69 and I'm relatively comfortable risking 20 cents in a crude oil trade, which I don't think is a bad risk for most people. Sometimes we might want to be a little bit tighter than that, but I don't think that's a bad risk. But I'm only looking to make 17 cents. No, that's not a trade for me, right? I'm not looking for that. That's too small of a trade. This is one that closing the gap to settlement price. I'm done. I'm out of there. PD, I got you. We'll crank up this volume a little bit. Hopefully that works. And Brian, Vince, Norman, Subconscious, Sean, Nicholas, good to see you guys. Greg, Jay, all the way from Albania, good to see you. And new Fan Licorn. I apologize if I said that incorrectly. North Carolina. I used to live just outside of Moorhead in North Carolina. I lived down there for about 3 years. All right, so like I was saying, that's not enough of a move for me to back down to settlement price, 69 down to 83, or even down to 83. Not enough of a move, so I'm looking for something bigger. I'm looking for a bigger directional move, and if I can get that short at 69, where am I going? Well, settlement price, not enough. And truthfully, yesterday's value area high, Not enough. 27 cents if I'm going to risk 20? Hell no. Sorry, not a trade for me. I need a little bit more than that. The only thing that I can look at down below is yesterday's point of control. It was an unchecked point of control. The closer we are to it, we're looking for possibly that point of control to get checked. Check point of control, and we love it. Rallies right to settlement price. Then we can think about maybe that close the gap to settlement price. Now, I'm not going to say that closing the gap to settlement price is a common thing in the afternoon session or after that market opens up. But if it starts to get directional and it bounces off a defined level or area, just like this, it's a good area to continue to look for a target or an entry. All right, next, let's look at the S&P 500. So like we said, big sell-off in the overnight session. Market opened up and continued lower. Now, this is where it gets tough, right? This is where it gets really difficult to try and determine how to trade this. And so on a day like today, when you've got jobless claims coming out, showing great numbers, but you have a big sell-off, I'm going to be really, really hesitant off the open to look for any opportunity. Once I start to see volume coming in, right? What are the basics of volume? If volume is continuing or volume is dying, volume is backing off, look to see the market slow down or reverse. So that's where we got to kind of pay attention to that volume. Pay attention to what's going on. We obviously had big volume off the open. No surprise there. But eventually that volume came in and started picking back up to the upside. And this is where if we can get in down below, again, very difficult. So I get it if we did not get in on this trade. Very difficult trade to get in. But if we got in down below or we started to look for an opportunity as this market went higher, where are we looking at? Well, we want to be paying attention to some areas up above. What's got our attention? Well, we obviously love prior day value areas. We love prior day swing highs and swing lows. So it's a pretty simple area for me to start looking right here at 41.95. Run that up to yesterday's value area low right here at 41.98 with point of control right here at 4,200. And you know what? I'm not going to stand back and not say settlement price was not something that caught my attention. We had settlement price all the way up here at 42.06 quarter. That's my attention, guys. If a market opens up away from it, the first thing I'm looking for is an opportunity for it to start to close the gap back to settlement price. But the difficulty here is we've got 3 points that we need to try and get through. We're looking for this market to break through prior day regular trading hour low, through prior day value area low, prior day points of control. We have 3 targets up above that we need to see this market get through, and that's where things get a little bit more difficult. Next, let's go ahead and look at the NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ, just like the S&P 500, this market opened up lower, continued lower off the open. We saw a little bit of a pullback all the way down to 13,460. But just like S&Ps, the good news came in. Market started to pick back up a little bit. And we retraced right to some moving averages. But this market struggled a little bit. We can take a look at Tesla. We can take a look at some of those tech stocks. They are still struggling a little bit, holding this market back. But really, that's where I'm thinking. I'm paying attention. Obviously, don't get me wrong. Settlement price up above, right here at 13,673.75. It's obviously my first target. But I got to look at what it's going to take to get through that. What's it going to take to get to settlement price? Well, we have yesterday's regular trading hour swing low. We've got what could have been a point of control. We've got yesterday's value area low. We have multiple moving averages. Guys, how many times have we looked at these moving averages in the EMA and the SMA here in the NASDAQ right here, SMA 20 period, and the same goes for the EMA here. Why is it showing me SMA? Weird, it keeps showing me SMA even though I'm clicking on the EMA. Strange. 20 period SMA, 20 period EMA. They have been providing great opportunity for us as of late. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on those in the short time frame as possible targets. And we're going to keep an eye on them on the higher time frame as well. Next, let's look at the gold. Gold was tough. Market opened up, and when John was talking to you guys this morning, the market had essentially found our bottom. We bottom out down here in the gold off the equity open. This is where it gets tough. How do we determine this trade? How are we looking for an opportunity in this trade? Because initially, this first pullback looks just like that, just a simple pullback, not a directional change. It starts to sell off. I'm sure a lot of people got shaken out here in this potential of, okay, market's starting to sell off again, look to continue with trend, bounced a little bit more. This was a very difficult trade. So if you missed an opportunity, you got chopped up here today, that's absolutely okay. And if you got the short off the open, congratulations, that's outstanding. All right, next, let's look at the euro. Euro, not a whole lot different than the S&P 500. Same exact thing, but we bottomed out a little bit later. We had a little bit of a pullback right around 9:30 this morning. That would be, in my opinion, about the only short opportunity in this trade. We had that small pullback. We can potentially look for the short. And then this is where I was saying, we start to recognize that a directional move is over. It sets us up with plenty of time to really recognize move is over, get out of this, lock in those profits. And then lastly, let's go ahead and take a look at the 10-year note. 10-year note opened up this morning, and it started to make the attempt back to settlement price. But we had jobless claims come out, and those economic numbers looked really good. Well, typically when economic numbers look really good, you see equities pop, you see treasuries pull back just a little bit. We made the move up to value area low. Didn't make it to settlement price up here at 31.30. Didn't make it to point of control up here at 31.31, and just got back to the downside. We moved through an unchecked point of control down here at 31.22. And continuing back to the downside. So those are our markets here today. I hope you guys have all had a wonderful day so far and a wonderful week. Weekend is almost here. It's going to be a gorgeous one here. It's going to be a gorgeous one here in the Midwest. So wherever you're at, I hope you got some great weather. I see some questions and stuff coming in here. Yep, we got the volume there for you, PD. Woke up this morning, saw a nice short on a C in an ABC pattern and got in at 42.09, then realized it was, I'm sorry to hear that. Make sure you always are checking those things every morning. I've been caught myself in years past where I use a TT account and I have accidentally clicked into Sim and made trades on it. So always one of those like morning checklists right there. Sean Barnes, why do we need to trade for a minimum of 10 days if we fail in the pro-funded account? Is there a way to maybe reduce this since there are not a number of minimum days, Sean, in the pro account? You hit the target or you violate a rule, you'll find out that day. Oh, I see what you're saying there, Sean. No, you don't have a minimum days in pro account, but you do in step 2, where everyone is the same in step 2 there. Nice work, Norman. Way to go. I feel you there. Jay. And PD, thanks for drawing attention to that one there. Make sure everyone makes note of that. If you hit F5 to refresh, it switches accounts if you're not paying attention. I will say that's a great thing to notice. And maybe, I think the practice accounts are a phenomenal thing. So, if it's an extra step in the morning just to make sure you're in the right one, or before you execute a trade, make sure you're in the right one. I think it's absolutely worth it. All right, guys. Like I said, not a ton of news here today. We got, our Bitcoin's not really been doing much for us. Where is my Bitcoin? I know I got it somewhere here. Like I said, I got too many stinking charts. Story of my life trying to find all this stuff. All right, here we go. Bitcoin trading 38,740 has not found the life to the upside. since the sell-off. But we got some other stocks moving, without a doubt. But first, we'll take a look at Airbnb. Airbnb down a little bit today, about $144. So we're getting back. We were up at 152 this morning. We're getting back, 51, excuse me. We're getting back on track. So I'm liking where we're at on this stock, and I think we're still in at a good buy. And I think we continue to hold. We got the VIX. Like we mentioned, it popped a little bit this morning, up over 19, but we're sitting right down comfortably at 18. You got GameStop, though. Man, is that the talk of the town right now? $258 a stinking share. That's incredible. And another one we got to look at. We got to bring attention to it. AMC. AMC, what a stock. If you're a shareholder, you get free popcorn. I mean, how about that? To get people to back into your theaters, convince them to buy a share. You know, if you have one share of stock for $50, you can go to the movies twice. You basically made your money back on popcorn. All right, so we got that one trading really nicely right around that 47 mark. We're going to continue to keep our eyes on that one. All right. Just make sure. Vince, do you stay on the sidelines non-farm payroll days? Majority of the times, any sort of outright trading, absolutely. If I do have a position, position trading that I'm doing, whether I got some options on or I'm in some spreads or something like that, I'll ride those through the number. But any sort of outright stuff, absolutely. It's not worth it. Way too much downside risk on that. If you got a position on that you can be hedged and get yourself into a better position so that the number doesn't really affect you, then you're all right. But I think any sort of outrights, make sure you're absolutely flat. Okay. Lastly, tomorrow, unemployment numbers. Unemployment situation tomorrow. So you got unemployment number, non-farm payrolls. Make sure you pay attention to that. This could be a good one. We had good jobless claims today. And then other than that, nothing major. Baker Hughes rig count at 12 p.m. Central Time. Nothing I don't think we should be too concerned about there. And then lastly, this date in history, and then I'll get the heck on out of here. On this day, 1965, the first American walks in space on June 3rd, 1965, 120 miles above the Earth. Major Edward H. White II opens the hatch of Gemini 4 and steps out of the capsule, becoming the first ever American astronaut to walk in space, attached to the craft by a 25-foot tether, controlling the movements with his handheld controls. That one's kind of cool. That's why I kind of want to read it a little bit longer. And then the last one. This one I find interesting. Just saw it. I don't really know much about it. But on this day, 1956, rock and roll is banned in Santa Cruz, California. Obviously, that's not the case anymore. But man, that's kind of an interesting one. All right. On that note, guys, I'm going to sign on out of here. I hope you have all had a spectacular day. Have a spectacular weekend ahead of you. And remember, big day tomorrow. Numbers are coming in. Make sure you're patient. Don't rush into anything. Fundamentals, just because fundamentals are a thought or supposed to go in one direction, we know that's not always going to be the case. So be patient. Let that market tell you where it wants to go. Execute based on that. And if you struggle with that, or if you're struggling to figure out where the market's telling you wants to go, start your weekend early. Get the heck out of here. Go enjoy the weather. It is basically summer, so get out and enjoy it. All right, everybody, take care. John will be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Time. So until then, stay safe, wash your hands, trade smart, and trade well. I look forward to seeing you guys in the market.